The 3 a.m. text that changed everything. The notification sound pierced through Maya's wine-induced haze at 3:47 a.m. She squinted at her phone, her stomach dropping as she read the message she'd sent 2 hours earlier. "You up?" Sent to Alexander Steele, CEO. Oh no, oh no, no, no. Maya sat bolt upright in bed, her head spinning from more than just the movement. She'd texted her billionaire boss, the Alexander Steele, founder of Steel Industries, like he was some college fling. Her phone buzzed again. "I am now. Send me your address." Maya's heart stopped. This couldn't be happening. She typed frantically, "Mr. Steele, I'm so sorry. That was completely unprofessional. Please ignore that message. I'll submit my resignation in the morning." The 3 dots appeared, disappeared, then appeared again. "Address Maya, now." With trembling fingers, she sent it. What else could she do? Maybe he wanted to fire her in person. She deserved it. You don't drunk text the most powerful man in Seattle at 3 a.m., even if he does have those impossibly kind eyes and that rare smile that made the whole office stop and stare. Maya stumbled to the bathroom, splashed cold water on her face, and stared at her reflection. Her mascara was smudged, her hair looked like a bird's nest, and she was wearing her rattiest pajamas, the ones with the cartoon avocados that said, "Let's avocuddle." Perfect, just perfect. 20 minutes later, a knock echoed through her tiny studio apartment. Maya opened the door to find Alexander Steele standing in her hallway, still in his suit from the office, his tie loosened, holding 2 coffees from the 24-hour diner 3 blocks away. "You didn't have to, you shouldn't have," Maya stammered. "May I come in?" His voice was gentler than she'd ever heard it in the office. She stepped aside, acutely aware of the modest surroundings, so different from the penthouse he probably lived in. Alexander set the coffees on her small kitchen table and turned to face her. "I owe you an apology," he said. Maya blinked. "I'm sorry, what?" "I've been a terrible boss." He ran a hand through his dark hair, looking more human than she'd ever seen him. "Maya, do you know why I'm here at 4 a.m. because you accidentally texted me?" She shook her head, afraid to speak. "Because for the past 6 months, I've watched you arrive at the office before anyone else and leave after everyone's gone. I've seen you take on extra projects, mentor the interns, and never complain. And tonight, when you texted me, even by accident, I realized something." He paused, his gray eyes meeting hers with an intensity that made her breath catch. "I realized I don't actually know you at all. None of us do. You're always there, always helping, always professional. But who checks on you?" Maya felt an unexpected lump forming in her throat. "Mr. Steele, it's Alex, and before you apologize again, I need to explain why I was still awake at 2 a.m. He sat down at her table, looking suddenly exhausted. "My mother died 3 years ago today. I couldn't sleep, so I was going through old emails. When your text came through, He smiled sadly. "I was grateful. For the first time in hours, I smiled." Maya slowly sat down across from him, all embarrassment forgotten. "I'm so sorry about your mother." "She would have liked you," he said softly. "She always said I worked too much, forgot to see the people around me as people. She was right." They sat in silence for a moment. 2 lonely people in a tiny apartment at 4 a.m., the city sleeping around them. "Can I tell you something?" Maya finally spoke. "I almost didn't come to work today. Yesterday was the anniversary of my sister's accident. She died 5 years ago, and some days it feels like yesterday." Alex's expression shifted to one of deep understanding. "The text wasn't completely accidental, was it?" Maya laughed, a real laugh that surprised them both. "I meant to text my friend Jenna, but when I opened my phone, your name was at the top of my recent messages. You'd emailed me that revised contract at midnight. I was 3 glasses of wine in, missing my sister, feeling alone, and..." She covered her face with her hands. "And I texted my boss you up? He like an absolute disaster of a human being. Or like a human being who was hurting and reached out," Alex said quietly. "That's not a disaster. That's brave." Maya lowered her hands, surprised by the emotion in his voice. "Do you know what I did after my mother died?" He continued. "I threw myself into work. 16-hour days, 7 days a week. I convinced myself that if I just worked hard enough, achieved enough, it would fill the hole she left behind. It didn't. It just made the hole bigger and surrounded it with walls so high that no one could reach me anymore." He picked up his coffee, cradled it in his hands. "When I saw your text tonight, something broke through those walls. For just a moment, I wasn't Alexander Steele, CEO. I was just Alex, someone who was also awake at 2 a.m., also hurting, also human." Maya felt tears welling up. I miss her so much sometimes I can't breathe. I know, Alex said simply. I know exactly what you mean. They talked until the sun started to rise, painting her small apartment in shades of gold and pink. They talked about their families, their losses, their fears. Alex told her about his mother's garden, how she could make anything grow. Maya told him about her sister's terrible jokes and infectious laugh. She used to say that 3 a.m. is when the universe shows you who your real friends are, Maya said, watching the sunrise. The people who show up when you need them, even if you don't know you're asking. Alex smiled. Smart sister. The smartest. Maya turned to him. Can I ask you something? Why did you really come here? You could have just fired me over email. He was quiet for a long moment. Because I saw myself in that text, Maya. The loneliness. The reaching out. And I remembered my mother telling me, a week before she died, that the biggest regret people have isn't the things they did. It's the connections they didn't make, the help they didn't offer, the hands they didn't reach for. He stood up, straightening his tie. So when someone, even accidentally, reached out to me, I decided to reach back. To show up, to be human instead of just a CEO. Thank you for showing up, Maya said softly. Thank you for the accidental invitation. He smiled. That rare, genuine smile she'd only seen a handful of times. And Maya? You're not fired. In fact, I'd like to propose something. Her eyebrows raised. Sir? Alex, he corrected gently. I'm creating a new initiative at Steel Industries, Mental Health and Employee Support Program. I want someone to head it who understands that we're humans first, employees second. Someone who knows what it's like to struggle but still show up. Someone who would take on extra work, to help others even when they're hurting themselves. Maya's heart began to race. Are you offering me a promotion? I'm offering you a purpose, he said. If you want it. No pressure. And if you'd rather stay in your current role, that's completely fine too. But I think you'd be perfect for this. Maya felt overwhelmed. Can I think about it? Of course. Take all the time you need. He headed toward the door, then paused. And Maya? My door is always open. Not just as your boss, but as someone who understands what it's like to feel alone at 2 a.m. Alex? She called as he opened the door. Would you want to get coffee sometime? Real coffee, during normal hours, as friends who showed up for each other? His smile could have lit up the entire city. I'd like that very much. 3 months later, Maya stood in front of the Steel Industries Board of Directors, presenting the employee wellness program that had helped 23 employees get the mental health support they needed. Alex sat at the head of the table, and when she finished, he was the first to stand and applaud. That evening, as they grabbed coffee from their now regular spot, Maya's phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Hi, this is from the Seattle Women's Shelter. We heard about your work at Steel Industries. Would you be willing to speak at our fundraiser? Maya showed the text to Alex. It's spreading, she said, amazed. Kindness always does, he replied. One person shows up, then another, then another. Before you know it, you've started something that changes everything. Maya thought about that drunk text, that moment of vulnerability she'd been so ashamed of. It had led to this, to purpose, to friendship, to helping others who felt alone at 2 a.m. My sister was right, she said, watching the sunset paint the Seattle skyline. 3 a.m. does show you who your real friends are. Alex raised his coffee cup. To showing up. To showing up, Maya echoed, clinking her cup against his. And in that moment she understood. Sometimes the most embarrassing mistakes lead to the most beautiful connections. Sometimes being vulnerable isn't weakness, it's the bravest thing you can do. And sometimes when you reach out into the darkness, even by accident, someone reaches back and brings the light. All it takes is one person willing to show up.